Welcome to Module 6. We are going to dive into Chapter 11 and Chapter 12 during this module in our textbook, and I will go over some of my notes from the chapter shortly with you. I hope everyone's doing well. I know this past week a lot of things were closed down again. This COVID is getting out of hand, so please make sure you're taking care of yourself, you're wearing a mask, and going out only when you have to, but make sure you get out there and try to exercise. Walking will help with your stress as well and anxiety. So going over our instructions in Module 6, as you can see, as usual, I will always indicate all of the NAEYC standards and development appropriate practice guidelines that we're covering within these chapters, as well as upon completion of everything in this unit. These are all the things you'll be able to do within the unit. So again, when you're doing if you're reading, you're taking the quizzes, you're turning in all the assignments, these are all the wonderful opportunities that you're going to be giving yourself. To be successful within this module, you will need to watch this video, which you are now. You want to make sure you're reading chapters 11 and 12 in your textbooks, and make sure you go over the PowerPoints as well. I go over them briefly, which, like I said, I'll go over those momentarily with you. You want to make sure to take your quizzes, your chapter 11 and chapter 12 quiz. They're both due this Friday. And it's worth 10 points. They're due on 7/24, so you want to make sure that you get those in prior, because at that point it locks. Your discussion board this week, which I'll go over a little bit further in depth, is in regards to social play stages. It is worth 10 points, and again, the original thread is due on Wednesday, the 22nd, and your 2 peer posts, that's 2, not just 1, but 2, is due by 7/24, which is Friday evening. And then you're going to want to start going over your third observation, and that is the social and emotional ones. You want to begin kind of going over the instructions and so forth. Also within this module, I'm going to put a recorded instruction group, actual meeting that I'm going to have. You guys can watch that and then dive into looking at videos that you think will cover that area. Okay, I want to go ahead and go back and kind of go over, oops. Module 6. Kind of go over just a little more in detail the chapters with you. This is taking a little while, I apologize. There we go. So the instructions is just what we went over. This is your observation 3 instructional video. You're going to want to watch that for the instructions on the observation. And then your PowerPoints, chapter 11 and 12, make sure you review those. And then I'd like to go ahead and talk about chapter 11 and 12 now. I actually took some notes for you that I wanted to go over. So chapter 11 discusses using work samples to look into creativity, okay? When using work samples are actually a method that preserves the child's work as documentation for development. So you can use art media, you can use portfolios, and it also is a wonderful method to use for assessment planning with the children. So work samples to document development. So you can, it amplifies developmental checklists. It mirrors recording methods. It includes conversation with the child. So basically you want to utilize this for to add to their portfolio, to be able to discuss with the family during conferences. You can display their work within your classroom. You can create meaningful curriculum through the child's interest by looking at all of this, okay? So that is very important. Also, we'll go over the advantages and disadvantages, and then jumps into observing children's creative effort can create long attention spans, or actually when you are watching them, when you are observing the children, these are things that you can actually find. So it can indicate how long their attention span is, the capacity for organization, for seeing things in different perspectives, for exploring formal instruction, using solitary time, taking a closer look at things, their creativity, and then storytelling and song making. So you're going to see these in your dramatic play area. You can see this within the blocks area. You can see this outside. You can see this in the common area, the art area. Every area within your classroom and outside, you'll be able to observe their creative efforts. Okay. Let's see the benefits. You can also, the cognitive development plays a key role in this. It will show your benefits of creativity. It talks about Reggio Emilia and children's literacy, and then project approach, also is a representation of project approach. And then the children's drawing is in 4 stages. I know we've been talking a lot about different stages, but stage 1 in their drawing is mark making. Stage 2 is the scribble stage. Stage 3 is the pre-schematic stage. And then stage 4 is the schematic stage, which is very, very interesting to me because, again, just like we talked about language and literacy, these are the stages that each child passes through. So it's interesting that all children go through these stages, and they have some really great figures within your textbooks. You want to make sure to look at those. But we all start with the circle, and then arms coming off, and then hair and ears, and so forth. So it's all these stages. So talking with children about creative work. When you are talking to children about their work, you want to make sure you're complimentary, you're not judgmental, you're valuing their work, you're probing and correcting, you're modeling and describing. So as an educator, we want to make sure it's a positive approach when we're talking to them about their creative work, because we don't want them to be in this bubble and do what we want. We want them to think outside the bubble and create what the flower looks like to them, not what it looks like to us, right? So it's always using that positive. Let's see. So when you're observing creativity in infants and toddlers, you can learn how to create something new from raw materials, exploring materials through their senses, exploring different ways to express their thoughts and ideas, because many are nonverbal at this point. Learning to make decisions, developing the ability to share materials and appreciate others' work. That's a big one. And developing a positive self-concept, very, very important. And of course, we always are developing and refining the fine motor and the cognitive activities. Then we're moving on to other creative medias, which is music and movement, which you should be doing multiple times a day if you're inside the classroom with young children. Sensory experiences, block as a creative medium, and then there's stages and block play as well. So stage 1, you'll learn more about carrying, filling, and dumping. Stage 2 is beginning block building. Stage 3 is bridging. 4 is enclosures. 5 is patterns. 6 is naming structures. 7 is reproducing true life structures. And 8 is, which is the use of block play. So those are the different stages of block play. And you can see within one classroom, children will be all in different stages. And it's up to us as educators to find out where they're at and then build that curriculum that helps them move on to the next level, right? It's nice to have those stages so you can see exactly where they're at and how to talk to parents about what stage they're at and where we want to be. And this is what you can do at home. This is what I'm doing at school to get them up to where they should actually be. Using technology in creating creativity. We can use computers, smartphones, DVDs, digital cameras, and any kind of handheld devices. I actually use my phone within the classroom when children have questions about, how does a flamingo stand, or why are they pink? So we look up a lot of things right then and there so they can actually see them immediately. And as far as digital cameras, it's really great. One of my parents bought me a digital camera that actually produces those little tiny pictures instantly, which was wonderful because the children like to go around and take pictures, and then we post them and we talk about them. So that's fun as well. And then the chapter 11 wraps up helping all children with creativity. So it talks about diversity and so forth. And then in chapter 12, it's titled Using Technology for Documentation of Dramatic Play. So there are types of technological media for observing and recording, which is photography, audio recording, video, and computer and scanners. Again, with our phones being so handy dandy, I always have mine in my back pocket or on the table. I'm always pulling it out, taking a quick picture because I don't want to take away from what we're doing with the children, but it's just a quick picture. And then later on that day, I can write my notes. So I use a lot of pictures in my phone. And then ethical use of technology. So that is really, really important. So before any child starts my program, I have to obtain a consent form. So it's very important that you obtain a consent form. You maintain confidentiality. That means I'm not talking about a child to everybody, other parents, other teachers, right? Although you can talk to your team, your peer teachers to help create a plan for that child, but you want to maintain confidentiality. You also want to obtain all proper permission. So what I do is I have them sign a form, and that's part of their application. Okay, so that's really important. And then what to do with all this information that you've collected. So individual works can be stored in a child's folder or on a computer disk. You can display within your classroom. You can share with the child and family, for instance, like conferences and so forth. I always like to keep and I date their work in the beginning, middle, and end in between all the conferences so we can see the growth, how it is happening so fast. And then again, use it as emergent curriculum, which would mean you're taking what they're doing and challenging them to go to the next level. So you want to make sure you create a meaningful curriculum and you have to know their interests and so forth to create that. And then there's different types of dramatic play. There's mastery play, innovative play, kinship play, and therapeutic play. The book goes in a little more detail, so make sure you read that carefully. And then the types of dramatic play, there's socio-dramatic, teacher-guided, creative dramatics, and story dictation. And what I really want you to pay attention a lot to, and this is part of our discussion board this week, is play stages in dramatic play. So there's there's 5 stages. The onlooker, which is exactly what it sounds like, the onlooker. The solitary dramatic play, which is when they play by themselves. The parallel play was they're playing side by side but not interacting. There's associative play and cooperative play. Those are all types of play. And then there's developmental domains observed during dramatic play are creativity, intellectual, emotional, social, language and literacy, your executive function, as well as physical. So these are all domains that we can watch during dramatic play. Let's see, in the role of the teacher, it talks a little bit about the role of teacher, and that is setting the environment, role playing, conflict resolution, and predetermined scenarios. So I'm always modeling. What if this happens? What if this? What if I talk this way? Or what if I said this? I'm always modeling for the children of the proper way to speak and how we make sure that we are being very respectful, right? And other methods to observe dramatic play are things that we've learned quite a lot about over this semester, which is your anecdotal notes or recordings, your class log, time sampling, developmental checklists, and rating scales. So those are all different methods you can use. And then again, helping all children with dramatic play talks about the different abilities and socioeconomic differences. And there's a lot we can take from when we are watching dramatic play from the children. A lot we can learn about their home life and about them in general. So that is kind of a snippet of chapter 11 and 12. Your discussion it says social play stages is the topic. This is due again Wednesday the 22nd, and then your original is due, and then your 2 peer responses are due by Friday. So you're going to refer back to, and I have the pages here, 125 to 127 in your textbook, which discusses the social play stages, which is the onlooker, solitary, parallel, associative, and cooperative. So you're going to compare these to dramatic play stages, which we just went over. and then classify each into the social play stage. Okay, so you then compare and contrast your findings. So you want to do that. And again, here's your rubric for